As Vice-Chancellor of the University, I declare this congregation open for the conferring of degrees by the authority of Senate.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, graduands, as Pro-Vice-Chancellor, it gives me very great pleasure to welcome you all to this degree ceremony. I extend a special welcome to parents, partners and friends, some of whom have travelled great distances to attend. The University of Leicester is an international university, and that is something of which we feel very proud. Of our 8,500 full-time campus-based students, about 10% are from overseas. And this significant number makes a valuable contribution to the culture of our campus and to scholarship in the classroom. Leicester is also a national leader in the provision of distance learning courses. We have over 5,000 distance learning students, over half of whom are based overseas. Some of you here today to receive your distance learning degrees may not have visited Leicester before. We're delighted to see you for what will be a memorable occasion. The University of Leicester has a distinguished history. Founded as a fitting memorial to the 1914-18 war, the first group of students wholly educated at the University College, as it was then called, graduated in 1925. In 1957, when Leicester was granted full university status, there were only 838 students. Of course, there has been a dramatic expansion in higher education since then. This week, in 5 degree ceremonies, 2,140 Leicester students will be awarded first degrees and 1,200 postgraduate degrees. Now, this is a very special day for parents. There is a sense of excitement and pride in seeing a son or daughter receive a degree. There is also the happy anticipation that a financial burden might soon be eased. Well, I'm afraid not all that rapidly if my experience is typical. For graduands, the ceremony is a culmination of years of work that was intense at times. Looking back on your time at Leicester, you will realize that universities are places of enjoyment. The enjoyment of intellectual development, but also the enjoyment of the social side of university life, which is of great importance. You will have learned a great deal at this university, but you will also have made many friends, some of which you will keep for the rest of your life. So perhaps there will be a tinge of sadness as you leave Leicester, but I will remind you that you are not breaking your relationship with this university, you are merely changing its nature. You're moving from a student status to being a friend of the university, members of the Graduates Association, formerly called Convocation, which will enable you to keep in touch with friends who have taught you and also friends who were your fellow students. Moreover, it could be in this age which gives prominence to lifelong learning that you will return to study, taking one of the attractive distance learning courses which we offer. But in any event, this university will remain part of your life. Universities are dynamic institutions at the forefront of change, but they are also strong upholders of tradition. For example, the gowns that we all wear today symbolize a tradition going back over many centuries. This ceremony is similar to others taking place, not just throughout Britain, but throughout the world. This is part of the community of scholars. Another tradition is that we honor an individual who has made an outstanding contribution, perhaps to scholarship, perhaps to the arts, or to the community, or to the environment. Our honorary graduate, Mr. Tim Appleton, will be presented to you by the public orator. After a response from our honorary graduate, the deans of the faculties of social sciences and law will present the candidates from their faculties to the Vice-Chancellor so that they may receive their degrees. My concluding remark to you is really a very simple one. This is your day, Enjoy it to the full. Thank you.
I could begin this tribute to our honorary graduand by asking the congregation what the following have in common. Gadwall, Mandarin, Shoveler, Pochard, Scalp, Scoter, Smew, Knot, Stint, and Turnstone. Or I could make it easier for you, if not for me, by giving you a clue and telling you that they are Anastrapira, Aix, Galericulata, Anasclapita, Aithia ferina, Aithia marilla, Melanita nigra, Mergus albellus, Calidris canutus, Calidris bunata, and Arinaria interpres. If you still don't know the answer, then all you have to do is to travel 20 miles from here at the right time of year, and you will find them all, and many other companions, on the shores and waters of Rutland Water, inveigled and charmed there by Tim Appleton, a Pied Piper of the world of birds. But do not feel embarrassed if you didn't know the answer. The same thing applied to the staff of a cathedral school in the southwest back in the 1960s. No doubt thinking that song was limited to male choirs, they were a little startled when one of their pupils decided that he was interested in botany and zoology, the first of their pupils ever to do so. They did find a very much hacked about dogfish to do enough dissection to get Tim Appleton through his O-levels, but then had to admit defeat, and off he went to the local technical college to complete his A-levels. Now, there's no doubt that higher education beckoned, but our graduand was an open-air man, and he was to find his wildlife at the Westbury Wildlife Park, and he set off on a career of enthusiasm and distinction, his own bypass, so to speak, and until this moment, no higher education establishment has managed to lay hands on him and bedeck him in these rather odd clothes. He became a trainee deer verderer on the Duke of Bedford's Deer Park, a very grand medieval Norman-sounding title. But one snag was that this involved shooting things from time to time, and that was against his nature. But Peter Scott spotted a likely lad who, as well as having a deep-rooted love of nature, could also manage things. And he took him off to be initially the head warden at the Peacock Wildfowl Park near Peterborough, and then to become deputy curator of the Wildfowl and Wetland Trust at Slimbridge. In 1975, Tim was to be appointed as the first manager of the Rutland Water Nature Reserve. Indeed, he was there before most of the water. So he not only manages with conspicuous success the reserve, but he designed and created it from the very beginning. Whilst the present reserve, which is 9 miles long and covers about 500 acres, might look to the many thousands of visitors as though it was like that from time immemorial, it has to be realized that it was made. For example, a rare buttercup meadow was moved in its entirety to avoid the onset of the waters, and suitable lagoons had to be constructed to provide a habitat for the birds which it was anticipated would arrive. Tim Appleton describes himself as having been thrown at the deep end. All he had on April the 1st, 1975, was a map and rising water. But those who know Rutland Water would see paddling around in the shallow end as being a more fitting description. And the waterfowl and the birds have come, in their thousands. 23,000 have been recorded in a single day, and in all 248 species have been recorded since 1975. And what is more, they keep on coming back, for obviously Tim Appleton has succeeded in creating an environment which keeps our feathered friends happy and which manages to balance human requirements, both commercial and leisure, with serious scientific and environmental responsibilities. And of course, this need to sustain a total environment requires knowledge and enthusiasm which reach far beyond ornithology into plant life and all areas of natural history. The reserve is now one of the most important in the country and has a national reputation. The educational and public facilities are being constantly developed, and it is now an English Nature Grade 1 site of special scientific interest and a special protection area. And all of this has to be balanced against the interests of tourists, of local farmers, and our need for water, which is why the reservoir was built in the first place. But Tim Appleton's enthusiasm has enthused others to work with him, and Anglian Water in particular have worked with him and the wildlife trusts to create and sustain a place of inestimable value. The development has extracted 28,000 hours of work each year from volunteers. Contact has been established with many universities. Work placement schemes have been devised. And projects of many sorts have come out of Tim's initiative. The British Birdwatching Fair, of which Tim Appleton is the co-organiser, is designed to provide a commercial platform for the birdwatching industry. So far, Antarctica is the only continent not to provide exhibitors and visitors. And if you have any doubt about its popularity, then try to find vacant bread and breakfast accommodation within 20 miles of Rutland Water late this coming August. The second aim of the fair is to raise funds for international conservation projects. So far, about £500,000 have been raised to support projects in 10 different countries, as far afield as the forests of Vietnam and Ecuador, and the development of 700 acres, for example, on the Baltic coast of Poland. Another sort of project altogether is the attempt, and hopes are high, to relocate the osprey from Scotland to Rutland Water. Whilst dramatic pictures hit the headlines, the careful building of nesting sites, the need to drive down the chicks at dead of night, the frequent disappointments do not. Nonetheless, if the project is as successful as we all hope, it will be a remarkable step forward in the attempt to recover some of the damage, for which we must all bear some responsibility. Our graduand has become a publicist for the cause and a leader of expeditions of considerable repute. Many authoritative papers bear his name. But it is typical of the man that, as well as teaching for local schools and universities, including this one, he has devised his own brand of ecotourism. Realizing that whilst his many tours made profits for commercial interests in this country, he found himself working with enthusiasts in places like Turkey and Costa Rica with hardly a penny to sustain their passion. He has devised schemes by which the hosts profit. So his ventures have unlocked such undreamt of treasures as Land Rovers, basic office equipment and scientific equipment in about 16 countries around the world. Gerard Manley Hopkins might have had Tim Appleton in mind when he wrote, "What would the world be once bereft of wet and wildness? Let them be left, oh, let them be left, wildness and wet. Long leave the weeds and the wilderness yet." But the reality is that man and beast must live together. And when the birds gather on St. Valentine's Day in Chaucer's Parliament of Fowls, so huge a noise gan they make, that earth and air and tree and every lake so full was, that hardly was there space for me to stand, So full was all the place. Tim is obviously very good at his job, but at least he knows when to stop. It is our privilege to recognise our graduands' contribution to our environment and our awareness of that environment, to matters of international significance and to the life of this region. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present Timothy Paul Appleton that you may confer upon him the honorary degree of Master of Science.
Sir, I admit you to the degree of Master of Science and we welcome you amongst us. Congratulations, well done.
Well, firstly, I must thank the orator for his most eloquent address, a lesson my local paper could certainly do with, following their announcement of this honour the University of Leicester have conferred upon me. Their less than eloquent headline read, "Birdman Tim Gets Degree." Quite what image this conjures up in their readers I cannot think. It comes as quite a relief to me, though, that I decided to make a study of birds rather than spiders. I'm indebted to the university for conferring this honour on me today. I really am still in a state of total disbelief. Although I'm here today as the recipient of this honour, in recognition of my work in nature conservation, I feel I must give credit to the hundreds of volunteers working in this field who have, over the past 25 years, helped me in establishing Rutland Water as just not a national, but as an internationally important site for wildlife. In fact, it would be amiss of me not to mention the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust and Anglian Water, both of which have given me the opportunity to develop a career specialising in creative nature conservation. This partnership between a conservation society and a commercial company is a fine example of cooperation with enormous benefits for both wildlife conservation societies and businesses. Today, you will leave university having gained your academic rewards, and I congratulate you all for that. I believe the next part of your journey, though, in preparation for your chosen career, is just as important. You will gain experience that will eventually help you succeed in life. And don't expect it to be easy over these next few years. Don't waste that time, for goodness sake. Use it resourcefully. You may not get a job immediately. And don't necessarily expect to be paid for your labours. As a manager offering work experience placements, we have literally hundreds of students over the years working in a voluntary capacity, building, though, on their academic qualifications from various universities in preparation for their future careers. In fact, if it wasn't for the voluntary input, many of the reserves in Britain just would not survive. Pressure to succeed and continually climb the ladder of achievement is something I'm sure that many of you will experience in the years ahead. Everyone wants to be successful, but there is often a cost for that success. Try to balance your working life with an appreciation of what is around you. I've been one of those very lucky few that have found a career that focuses on all that I'm passionate about. And I owe a lot of this to my parents, who always encouraged my brother and I to follow careers not necessarily for financial gain. And anyone working in nature conservation will bear me up with that. Advances in technology and science are the driving forces in today's society. But these advances often come at great expense to the natural world. Unfortunately, you cannot put a price on nature conservation. It is the responsibility of major utilities and developers to take into consideration the impact of their businesses on our natural environment. Today, there is an environmental watchdog with more teeth than you could ever imagine, and it comes in the form of more than 1 million members of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds and the Wildlife Trust movement, all of whom are concerned about the health of our countryside. Politicians in search of these votes are now much more aware of the strength of these environmental societies. And even this morning, I was listening to the radio, and on the Today programme, the government announced that a new bill will be put to Parliament as soon as possible to strengthen the 1982 Wildlife and Countryside Act to give better protection to our sites of special scientific interest. So as you pack up your bags and leave Leicester to start your new life, you will be driving through what appears on the surface to be a countryside of green fields, hedgerows, woodlands. In fact, a closer look will show you that it's a very manicured landscape. So take a moment in your rush to get home, take a closer look at that countryside, and your perception of it might well change. For over the past 25 years in Britain, we have seen wildlife go through a dramatic decline, particularly as more land is swallowed up by new roads, industrial sites, out-of-town shopping centres. These developments, together with modern farming methods, leave a diminishing environment for our wildlife. This current government now uses bird species as an indicator of a healthy environment. And it's not surprising, really, when you think that birds that I'm sure some of you have heard of, and I won't give you their Latin names, the skylark has declined by 60% in the last 25 years. The song thrush, a bird that you might have in your own gardens, has declined by 45%. The tree sparrow, a once common farmland bird, has been reduced to a tiny population. It's reduced by 95%. So this has got a message, a tremendous message, that we must look very carefully at and understand what is happening out there. And I remember many years ago, students from this university spending a lot of time in Abbey Park, doing all sorts of things that students do in Abbey Park, but most of them were, in this case, actually studying the starling populations. And I'm sure there are members of the academic community here who will remember that. And many millions of these birds used to gather here in the winter months. Now, no longer. So to conclude, my hope is that you, as educated and articulate people, realize the potential that you will have as the next generation of decision makers. Whether you become lawyers, politicians, social scientists, economics, to hopefully influence society's attitudes towards our environment. By your future example, you have the opportunity to make those changes that will safeguard this natural kingdom that we, as humans, are just part of. And maybe future generations will look back on us and say, they got it wrong, but at least they recognized it, and they did their damnedest to reverse the trends and put the balance back into the environment. Thank you very much.
The graduands in the Faculty of the Social Sciences will be presented by the Dean, Professor Pyle. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of the Social Sciences to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduands of the Faculty of Social Sciences, by the authority of Senate, I admit you to the several degrees for which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Safir Demibash.
You're admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations.
Justine Freeman.
You're admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations.
Eva Majerovska.
You're admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Arts in Business Analysis and Finance, Prasant Patel.
Congratulations. Well done.
Catherine Smith.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Arts in Law and Employment Relations, Sarah Abbott.
Congratulations.
Jill Armstead.
Congratulations.
Jasmine Babb.
Congratulations. Well done.
Paul Bateman.
Congratulations.
Reuben Bergman.
Congratulations. Well done.
Tracy Brown.
Congratulations. Well done.
Philip Bryant.
Congratulations.
Shane Burke.
Well done.
Siobhan Butler.
Congratulations. Well done.
Peter Carroll.
Congratulations. Well done.
Elizabeth Dixon.
Congratulations.
Hilary Evans.
Well done.
Ken Frew.
Congratulations.
Tracy Good.
Congratulations.
Ernest Gracia.
Congratulations.
Davina Harvey.
Congratulations.
Paul Hyatt.
Congratulations.
Vivian Hodgson.
Congratulations.
John Kirby.
Congratulations.
Louise Love.
Congratulations.
Paul Mason.
Congratulations.
Neil Montgomery.
Congratulations.
Judith Roundtree.
Congratulations.
Steve Simpson.
Congratulations.
Susanna Taylor.
Congratulations.
Brian Thelwell.
Well done.
Amelia Thomas.
Congratulations. Well done.
Richard Thomas.
Well done.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training, David Childs.
Congratulations.
Philip Day.
Congratulations. Well done.
Neil Hawley Evans.
Congratulations.
Ban Hui.
Well done.
Greg Kent. Cornelis Verdween.
Congratulations.
Robert Wade.
Well done. Congratulations.
Chang Wei.
Congratulations. Well done.
Anthony Wood.
Well done.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training and Human Resource Management, Yasmin Al-Musalam.
Congratulations. Well done.
Deepak Arya.
Well done.
Richard Barrett.
Congratulations. Well done.
Bernard Blum.
Congratulations.
Vicky Chang.
Congratulations. Well done.
Ema Darcy.
Congratulations.
Veronica Houghton.
Well done. Congratulations.
Zamri Ishmael.
Congratulations. Well done.
Celia Kay.
Congratulations.
Sheila Kinane.
Congratulations.
Jeff Lang.
Congratulations.
Rosemary Lee.
Congratulations. Well done.
Rob McLean.
Congratulations.
Paul McClune.
Congratulations. Well done.
Ada Ngan.
Congratulations.
Alan Royal.
Congratulations.
Stephanie Sampson. Hua Juntong,
Congratulations. Well done.
Pauline Wilkie,
Congratulations.
Yardi Zufar,
Congratulations. Well done.
for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Stuart Anderson,
Congratulations. Well done.
Julian Barnes,
Congratulations.
Madeleine Barnes,
Congratulations. Well done.
Alex Beresford,
Congratulations.
Ava Capel,
Congratulations. Well done.
Emma Carlyle,
Congratulations. Well done.
Alison Cook,
Congratulations.
Jonathan Darling,
Congratulations.
Ian Dixon,
Congratulations.
Daniel Freeman,
Well done.
Gary Gardus,
Congratulations. Well done.
Antonia Georgia Kapulu,
Congratulations.
Kieran Harkin,
Congratulations.
Stephen Hughes,
Well done.
David Hunt,
Congratulations.
David Jones,
Well done.
Matthew Lister,
Congratulations. Well done.
Philippa Marshall,
Well done.
Malina Mohammed Jafar,
Congratulations. Well done.
Sumanjit Randhawa,
Congratulations.
Claire Rogers,
Well done.
Luke Rush,
Congratulations. Well done.
Sophocles Seraphides,
Congratulations. Well done.
David Shires,
Congratulations.
Emma Simons,
Congratulations.
Nicholas Strogan,
Congratulations.
Timothy Skepper,
Congratulations.
Zinat Zerve,
Congratulations.
Nicola Vallings.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Economics with a year in Europe, Paul Cowan.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Business Economics, Kamran Ali,
Congratulations.
Chi Xiang Ang,
Congratulations.
Paul Bitterabo,
Congratulations.
Alexander Bauer,
Well done.
Simon Birchall,
Congratulations.
Shona Campbell,
Well done.
Rachel Carman,
Congratulations.
Ping Sun Chan,
Congratulations. Well done.
Rita Chan,
Congratulations.
Mark Cleave,
Well done.
Simon Collins,
Congratulations.
Jonathan Cooper,
Congratulations. Well done.
Richard Dalton,
Congratulations. Well done.
Gary Doost,
Well done.
Adam Godwar,
Congratulations.
Deepak Goyal,
Congratulations. Well done.
Scott Graham,
Congratulations.
Jeffrey Hodgetts,
Well done.
James Hollis,
Congratulations. Well done.
James Hoskin,
Congratulations. Well done.
Soul Islam,
Congratulations. Well done.
Umran Kadir,
Congratulations.
Alice Kahugu,
Congratulations.
Katarzyna Kemkiewicz,
Congratulations. Well done.
Novjit Kila,
Congratulations.
Neetu Kohli,
Well done.
Jennifer Laird,
Congratulations. Well done.
Young Lam,
Congratulations.
Xing Li,
Congratulations. Well done.
Sukman Lee,
Congratulations. Well done.
Philip Lim,
Congratulations.
Kelvin Lowe,
Congratulations. Well done.
Adam Luchuk,
Congratulations.
Lynette Mapp,
Congratulations.
John Memia,
Well done.
Sally Mohammed,
Congratulations.
Rashmuna Mohammed Sameri,
Congratulations. Well done.
Helen Morris,
Congratulations. Well done.
Ahmed Nana,
Congratulations. Well done.
Katie Parks,
Congratulations. Well done.
Michael Phillips,
Congratulations. Well done.
Paul Richmond,
Congratulations. Well done.
James Ridley,
Congratulations.
Adam Roberts,
Congratulations. Well done.
Larry Shue,
Well done.
Louisa Shum,
Congratulations.
Rosetta So,
Congratulations.
Jonathan Spall,
Congratulations. Well done.
Richard Spink,
Congratulations.
Daniel Stevenson,
Congratulations. Well done.
Katie Stock,
Congratulations. Well done.
Lawrence Stock,
Congratulations.
Hui Tung Tae,
Congratulations. Well done.
Chu Won Tung,
Congratulations.
Sung Hui Cho,
Congratulations. Well done.
James Tregoning,
Congratulations.
Alexis Vernon,
Congratulations. Well done.
Chris Waterhouse,
Congratulations.
Lindsay Whitten,
Well done.
Neil Wilson,
Congratulations. Well done.
Karen Yates.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Business Economics with a year in Europe, Rizvan Ahmed,
Congratulations.
Satnam Auti,
Congratulations.
Craig Laws,
Congratulations.
Sarah Phillips.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Law, Catherine Bilson,
Congratulations, Catherine.
Stephen Bocock,
Congratulations.
Darren Brighton,
Congratulations.
Ian Buckley,
Congratulations.
Claire Carolan,
Well done.
Paul Coleman,
Well done.
Jessica Enderby,
Congratulations.
Bina Gorecha,
Congratulations.
Christopher Keaton,
Congratulations.
Daniel King,
Well done.
Rahil Latif,
Well done.
Christopher Newman,
Well done.
Edward Phillips,
Congratulations.
Kimat Singh,
Congratulations. Well done.
Robert Sinnott,
Congratulations.
Craig Turley,
Well done.
Lindsay Twist,
Congratulations.
Charlotte Wardley.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Law with a year in Europe, Natalie Richards.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in European Studies, Lucy Dios,
Congratulations. Well done.
Rachel Gapp,
Congratulations.
Tarjinder Gill,
Well done.
John Paul Hunt,
Congratulations. Well done.
Sheena Lavery,
Congratulations.
Natalie Newman,
Congratulations.
Martin Petts,
Well done.
Claire Phelan,
Congratulations.
Charlotte Robinson,
Well done.
Elizabeth Tudor,
Congratulations. Well done.
Bethan Weir.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science, Economics, William Chin,
Congratulations.
Avi Kunturi,
Well done.
Michael Cross,
Congratulations.
Kay Hartburn,
Congratulations.
Rajvinder Johal,
Well done.
Xin Yan Leung,
Congratulations. Well done.
Chi Yan Mak,
Well done.
Stuart Marriott,
Congratulations.
Kulvia Pla,
Congratulations. Well done.
Jesse Saw,
Congratulations. Well done.
Mohith Sondi,
Congratulations.
Andrew Young.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science Economics in Business Economics, Olu Busola Afonja,
Congratulations. Well done.
Gregory Beardmore,
Congratulations.
Neil Featherston,
Well done.
David Ho,
Congratulations. Well done.
Tsai Ling Lee,
Congratulations. Well done.
Carolyn Mackey,
Well done.
Tsai Man Ng,
Congratulations. Well done.
Irathe Thainth De Aha,
Congratulations.
Ung Tan,
Congratulations. Well done.
Lucinda Tidmarsh,
Congratulations. Well done.
Charlie Wong.
Congratulations. Well done.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented.
The graduands in the Faculty of Law will be presented by the Dean, Mr. Woodliff. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of Law to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduates of the Faculty of Law, by the authority of Senate, I admit you to the several degrees for which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Murray Fairclough.
You admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Philosophy, Tomai Kimiskidu.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Laws in European and International Trade Law, Juan Chowdhury.
Congratulations. Well done.
Florence Maurin.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Laws in European Management and Employment Law, Beverly Andre.
Congratulations.
Ulrika Beide-Vellen-Bedrikoff.
Well done.
Catherine Blank.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thomas Collinge.
Congratulations. Well done.
Svein Hagen.
Well done.
Jonathan Jowett.
Congratulations.
Marion Kinchuk.
Congratulations. Well done.
David McGowan.
Congratulations. Well done.
Philip Malarkey.
Congratulations. Well done.
Sean Pears.
Congratulations. Well done.
Helen Schaub.
Congratulations. Well done.
Nisha Seth Scanavis.
Congratulations. Well done.
Bruce Shine.
Congratulations, well done.
Gina Williams.
Congratulations, well done.
Petros Zordoumis.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Laws in Law and Employment Relations, Michael Andrews.
Congratulations, well done.
Rosemary Craig.
Congratulations, well done.
John Dew.
Congratulations, well done.
Margaret Friend.
Congratulations, well done.
Chris Harris.
Congratulations, well done.
Jean Laidler.
Congratulations, well done.
Elizabeth Marshall.
Congratulations, well done. I'm afraid the steps are pretty awful for you, but well done.
Stuart McBride.
Congratulations. Say hi. Good, good.
David Monk.
Congratulations, well done.
Marie Morahan.
Congratulations, well done.
Peter O'Rourke.
Congratulations, well done.
John Webster.
Congratulations, well done.
Susan Whiddon.
Congratulations, well done.
For the degree of Master of Laws in Welfare Law, Berinda Kataria.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Arts in European Management and Employment Law, Andreas Asiotis.
Congratulations, well done.
Richard Field.
Congratulations, well done.
Philip Hedger.
Congratulations.
Cheryl Johnson.
Well done. Congratulations.
Sarah Nadim.
Congratulations, well done.
Guy Price.
Congratulations.
Neil Stafford.
Well done.
Mark Towner.
Congratulations, well done.
Nath Turan.
Congratulations, well done.
John Wheeler.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Laws in Law, Jahid Ali.
Congratulations.
Shabana Ali.
Congratulations, well done.
Ben Austin.
Congratulations.
Elizabeth Orty.
Congratulations, Elizabeth.
Catherine Ball.
Congratulations, Catherine, well done.
Rachel Bickerton.
Congratulations, well done.
Craig Blair.
Congratulations, well done.
Simon Bonney.
Congratulations, well done.
Patrick Bowe.
Congratulations.
Jennifer Breaker.
Congratulations, well done.
Caroline Bray.
Congratulations, Caroline.
Chloe Bucktin.
Congratulations, well done.
Daniel Budge.
Congratulations, well done.
Daniel Burrows.
Congratulations.
Neil Burton.
Well done.
Catherine Busby.
Congratulations.
Rory Butler.
Congratulations, well done.
Ahmed Butt.
Congratulations.
Victoria Chandler.
Congratulations.
Sabara Gamu Chandra Ratna.
Congratulations, well done.
Harish Sharambides.
Congratulations, well done.
Michael Cheney.
Congratulations.
Boonchik Chong.
Congratulations, well done.
Sandeep Clare.
Congratulations, well done.
Laura Clegg.
Congratulations, well done.
Christopher Cobley.
Congratulations, well done.
Simon Collis,
Congratulations, well done.
Caroline Consism,
Congratulations, well done.
Claire Cross,
Congratulations, well done.
Lisa Marie Darby,
Congratulations, well done.
Spencer Davis,
Congratulations.
Helen Dennis,
Congratulations, well done.
Matthew Duckworth,
Congratulations.
Karen Dudley,
Congratulations, well done.
Shira Igoz,
Congratulations, well done.
Catherine Ellis,
Congratulations, well done.
Andrea Enston,
Congratulations.
Matthew Filkin,
Well done.
Imogen Fisher,
Congratulations, well done.
Julia Furley,
Congratulations, well done.
Minesh Gadvi,
Congratulations, well done.
Emma Gilbert,
Congratulations, well done.
Darren Gray,
Congratulations, well done.
Ian Gray,
Congratulations.
Amalia Hajipapa,
Congratulations, well done.
Rachel Hall,
Congratulations, well done.
Joanna Ham,
Congratulations, well done.
Nusha Harbottle,
Congratulations, well done.
Adrian Harris,
Well done.
Michelle Harrison,
Congratulations.
Fiona Hartley,
Congratulations, well done.
Sarah Hashem,
Congratulations, well done.
Shelley Hecht,
Congratulations.
Stuart Hood,
Well done.
Louisa Horton,
Congratulations, well done.
Amy Hubbard,
Well done.
Mohammed Ikram,
Well done.
Catherine Iliff,
Congratulations, well done.
Nazat Iqbal,
Congratulations, well done.
Shahid Iqbal,
Congratulations.
Rita Itabor,
Congratulations, well done.
Vidisha Joshi,
Congratulations, well done.
Michael Jury,
Well done.
Carol Kemp,
Congratulations, well done.
Sukhbir Kara,
Congratulations, well done.
Nadeem Khan,
Congratulations, well done.
Jamie Kidd,
Well done.
Neil Lacey,
Congratulations, well done.
Adriel Lau,
Well done.
Munwai Leong,
Congratulations.
Andrew Leung,
Congratulations.
Robin Lintz,
Congratulations.
Chun Hu Lo,
Congratulations, well done.
Kula Luka,
Congratulations, well done.
Nadia Matikaloni,
Congratulations.
Niall McCann,
Congratulations, well done.
Laxman Muir Singh,
Congratulations.
Lindsay Miller,
Congratulations.
Joanne Milner,
Congratulations.
Justin Mitchell,
Well done.
Amir Mohammed Mokhtar,
Congratulations.
Anna Morgan,
Congratulations, well done.
Emma Morris,
Well done.
Nina Morris,
Congratulations.
Salim Mukaddam,
Congratulations, well done.
Rebecca Nassem,
Congratulations, well done.
James Newman,
Well done.
Tonia Nicolau,
Congratulations.
Pradeep Oliver,
Congratulations.
Richard Oman,
Congratulations.
Dennis Onyinkwa,
Congratulations.
Jacqueline Oyuyo,
Congratulations.
Hazel Page,
Congratulations. Well done.
Nina Parnaby,
Well done.
Sonali Patel,
Congratulations.
Kirsty Pettingale,
Well done.
Philip Feasy,
Well done.
Debbie Punia,
Congratulations.
Mark Pryor,
Congratulations.
Despina Prodrumu,
Congratulations.
Richard Purvis,
Congratulations.
Zia Rahman,
Well done.
Anna Rastal,
Congratulations. Well done.
Rangan Ravindran,
Well done.
Denise Reed,
Congratulations. Well done.
Kate Redhead,
Congratulations.
Barry Roberts,
Well done.
Baljit Rupra,
Congratulations. Well done.
Peter Sanderson,
Well done.
Govinda Sandhu,
Well done.
Sandeep Sakaria,
Congratulations. Well done.
Jonathan Scarsbrook,
Congratulations. Well done.
Claire Sheehan,
Well done.
Jatinda Shergill,
Congratulations. Well done.
Rebecca Shinton,
Congratulations, Rebecca.
Claire Sinnott,
Well done.
Bethan Slater,
Well done.
Ian Smith,
Congratulations.
Naris Smith,
Well done.
Andrew Southam,
Congratulations. Well done.
Claire Stevenson,
Well done.
James Sugden,
Well done.
Sarah Takun,
Congratulations.
Chow Sin Tan,
Well done.
Mamta Tank,
Congratulations. Well done.
Lisa Taylor,
Congratulations.
Manbia Tandy,
Well done.
Samantha Thomas,
Congratulations. Well done.
David Thompson,
Well done.
Andrew Thorne,
Congratulations. Well done.
Rebecca Thurlow,
Congratulations. Well done.
Paniotis Toulouris,
Congratulations. Well done.
Katerina Zangarzis Andreas,
Congratulations. More or less right.
Georgios Tsonis,
Congratulations. Well done.
Evan Turnill,
Congratulations. Well done.
Amber Ul-Haq,
Well done.
Esther Ward,
Congratulations. Well done.
Idris Waziri,
Well done.
Louisa Watley,
Congratulations. Well done.
Stephanie Whitchurch,
Well done.
Lindsay Wilkins,
Congratulations.
Simone Wilkins,
Congratulations.
Senny Williams,
Congratulations. Well done.
Martin Wilson,
Congratulations. Well done.
Cheng Yi Wong,
Well done.
Mark Wong,
Congratulations.
Melanie Wright,
Congratulations. Well done.
Matthew Yates,
Well done.
Christine Yeardsley,
Congratulations.
Wei Meng Yi,
Well done.
Haya Zion.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Laws in Law, European Union, David Brotherton,
Congratulations. Well done.
Maria Caliguri,
Congratulations, well done.
Simon Morm,
Congratulations.
Alice Poole,
Congratulations, well done.
Andrew Pullen,
Well done.
Louise Robinson,
Congratulations.
Dominic Whelan,
Well done.
David Zolinski.
Congratulations, well done.
For the degree of Bachelor of Laws in Law, International, Tina Chan.
Congratulations, well done.
Gary King,
Congratulations.
Ewan Lloyd.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Laws in Law with French Law and Language, Mark Adams.
Congratulations, well done.
Victoria Coombs,
Congratulations, Victoria.
Joanne Cosgrove,
Congratulations, Joanne.
Emma Di Giacomo,
Well done.
Alexandra Horton-Smith,
Congratulations, well done.
Kerry Jones,
Congratulations, well done.
Susan Mather,
Well done.
Kate McGough,
Congratulations, well done.
Peter Monk,
Well done.
Abigail Potts,
Congratulations, well done.
Kieran Rainey,
Congratulations.
Amy Scott,
Well done.
Garben Shanks,
Congratulations, well done.
Sarah Sinclair Johnson,
Well done.
Jonathan Williamson,
Congratulations, well done.
Catherine Young,
Well done.
Lila Ziged.
Congratulations, well done. You've got the biggest share of all.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented. Ladies and gentlemen, guests of the university, but particularly, of course, graduates, because that's what you've just become in the last few minutes, graduates rather than graduands. And this is, of course, especially your day, and my congratulations to all of you on receiving your degrees. You've all taken a highly significant step in your education, but this is not an end, it's another beginning. For those of you who've taken bachelor's degrees, part of the aim has been to prepare you for a lifetime of learning. For those of you who've taken master's degrees, this is another step in your education, but it's unlikely, I predict, to be the last one. Careers now require much more frequent reskilling and at times re-education, a learning of new knowledge, and probably repeated contacts with higher education. Much of this is now available, as we've seen, through distance education. But on this particular day, this is just a time to celebrate your current achievements. It's a culmination, as the Senior Pro-Vice Chancellor said, of hard work, at least much of the time. But of course, it's not always been the case that a degree required hard work. Jane Austen, in Sense and Sensibility, puts into the mouth of one of her characters, Edward Ferrars, the following: "A young man of 18 is not, in general, so earnestly bent on being busy as to resist the solicitations of his friends to do nothing. I was therefore entered at Oxford University, and I've been properly idle ever since." Well, times have changed. During your courses, you will have received a great deal of support from family and friends. Parents particularly will feel very proud at the moment. At this point, I was about to tell the joke that the Senior Pro-Vice-Chancellor has just stolen earlier about imminent financial independence. So I won't repeat it, but I can say that from personal experience, I know as a parent that is not the case. Now, the university has, of course, been in this process educating you, and you will owe a great deal to the staff of the university, most particularly, of course, to those who've taught you, but also either directly or in many cases indirectly to all the staff of the university who work together to contribute the creation of the opportunities for your education. The university has indeed developed enormously in recent years, and this would not have been possible without the dedication, the skill, and the commitment of all the staff, and I, as Vice-Chancellor, pay my tribute to them. The university strives to achieve excellence in both teaching and in research. It places great emphasis on the synergy between these two, and on the belief that teaching is enhanced if it takes place in a quality research environment. The university has developed in recent years in both teaching and research. For example, we've seen a massive growth in the volume of postgraduate education, and you notice that many of the degrees awarded today are postgraduate. We've seen an increase in the range of both postgraduate and undergraduate education, and you will have realized from the titles of many of the degrees that this is so. Much emphasis, for example, on business in relation to other subjects and on Europe. Incidentally, I can't help but note that several of the degrees had such and such a title with a year in Europe. I just wondered where you spent the rest of your time. We've seen a massive increase in the buildings on the campus in recent years. Residential accommodation, so that we can offer accommodation to about 40% of our resident students, teaching buildings, and research buildings. We've seen in the last couple of years a new Space Research Centre building, which is significant in itself for the opportunities it creates for research in one of the areas that the university has a high level of international excellence, but also significant because it's part of a national space science centre which will be created here in the city of Leicester, with a grant from the Millennium Commission and as a result of a joint bid between the University of Leicester and the City of Leicester. This will create a large exhibition centre to which we anticipate there will be the order of 300,000 or more visitors a year. It also has a very important educational component, and it provides a major link between the university and the local community. The university is making a very significant contribution to the recent national expansion in higher education. Since this is my final year of 12 years as Vice-Chancellor, I did a little calculation the other day as to how many graduates we will have produced in that time, and it's about 35,000. 28,000 or so actually attended in person for their graduation, so I reckon that since on these occasions I sometimes share them with the Chancellor, I've probably shaken the order of 20,000 hands in that period and attended over 80 degree ceremonies. We're now moving into an age in which social life and economic life will increasingly be dominated by dramatic developments in the way in which information can be handled and communicated. Phrases like the information society or a knowledge-based economy and so on give a flavour to that development. Future developments are unpredictable, but we can be absolutely certain that the changes are likely to be dramatic in all aspects of our lives. And therefore, it's highly important that everyone is adaptable. And the university is in this process of helping to create this new society and helping society to adapt to the new technology will have a vital role. Never, in my view, have they been more important. They're the creators of knowledge through research, the educators of people to handle knowledge, and also they prepare graduates to make a positive contribution to the society in which they live. We have to establish firmly the virtues of understanding and tolerance, a willingness to discuss differences of view rationally and to appreciate other people's interests and other people's points of view, a commitment to create a civilized and democratic society. But let me return to the present day. This is a celebration of today's degrees, and to look to your future, as Mr. Appleton commented. Some of you perhaps immediately will be going on to a job. Many, of course, of you are already in jobs or will be going back to a job. Some of you will be undertaking further educational training. Some of you, no doubt, will be taking some time out to see something of the world. I believe that the education you've received at this university will help you to develop not only a satisfying career, but also to lead fulfilling personal lives. I hope, as Professor Fearon says, that you will remain in contact with the University of Leicester through the Graduate Society convocation. We like to keep that contact. We like to be able to consider whether we can offer you help in the future, some of our courses, as Professor Fearon said. But also, we very much value the contact that it provides with different aspects of the world, so we can make sure that what we're providing is relevant to what people need. I hope also that you will all feel that you wish in some way or other to repay society and the community generally for the support which they have provided by creating and supporting this university. You are, all of you, in a privileged position to be able to make such contributions. But whatever you do, may I wish you every success. Thank you very much. I now declare this congregation at an end.